Once upon a time, during a long and bitter winter, snow covered the entire kingdom like a white blanket. In the tall royal castle, a gentle queen sat by her window sewing. As the queen leaned closer to her needlework, the needle pricked her finger. A few bright red drops of blood fell onto the white snow. The queen gazed at the striking contrast, the brilliant red on the pure white, and whispered softly, almost like a prayer carried by the cold wind. I wish for a child with skin as white as snow lips, as red as blood, and hair as black as this ebony wood. Not long after her wish came true, a beautiful baby girl was born exactly as she had dreamed. Her skin glowed white as snow, her lips shone a deep ruby red, and her hair was black as the winter's night. "We shall call her Snow White," the queen said. But happiness was brief. The queen fell ill shortly after giving birth, and within days she passed away, leaving the king alone with his precious daughter. A year passed. The king remarried, this time to a woman breathtakingly beautiful, but filled with cold pride and dangerous envy. She carried with her a mysterious magical mirror. Every morning she stood before it and asked, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" The mirror always replied, "You, my queen, are the fairest of all." And the queen's heart overflowed with satisfaction. But Snow White grew, and even as a child, she was gentle, pure-hearted, and stunningly beautiful. By the time she turned 7, her beauty had surpassed the queen's. One morning, when the queen asked her mirror the familiar question, the mirror answered something new. "You are fair, O queen, it's true, but Snow White is fairer than you." The queen's face twisted with rage. From that moment, hatred grew like poison in her heart. She could not bear Snow White's presence, her kindness, or her beauty. At last she summoned a huntsman. "Take the girl deep into the forest," she commanded, her voice icy. "Kill her obedient but heavy-hearted." The huntsman led Snow White into the dark forest. She walked innocently beside him, unaware of the danger. When he raised his knife, Snow White turned around, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Please don't hurt me. If you let me go, I'll never return home." The huntsman looked at her trembling, innocent face. His hands shook. He could not harm her. "Run," he whispered. "Run far away and never come back." Snow White fled into the forest branches, scratching her arms, shadows twisting around her. Every sound frightened her, cracking twigs, rustling leaves. Snow White wandered until her legs gave way. Just as the sun set and the forest turned golden, she spotted a tiny cottage nestled in a clearing. Inside, everything was small and charming. 7 little plates, 7 spoons, 7 cups and 7 beds arranged in a row. Exhausted and starving, Snow White nibbled a little from each plate and sipped a little from each cup. Then she tried the 7 beds until she found one that felt just right. That night, the owners of the cottage returned. 7 dwarfs miners from the mountains. "Someone drank from my cup. Someone ate from my plate. And someone's been sleeping in my bed, and she's still here." When they saw Snow White, they gasped at her beauty. Instead of waking her, they quietly gathered around, whispering in awe. In the morning, Snow White awoke frightened, but the dwarfs were gentle and kind. She told them everything: the wicked stepmother, the huntsman, her escape. "If you stay with us," they said, "and help keep the house tidy, cook, clean, sew, wash, we will protect you." Snow White agreed gratefully. Every morning before leaving for the mines, the dwarfs warned her, "Be careful, do not open the door to anyone. Your stepmother will try again." Back at the castle, the queen approached her mirror. "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" The mirror replied, "You are fair, O queen. It's true, but Snow White lives with the 7 dwarfs and is still fairer than you." The queen's fury erupted. "I will not be defeated." Disguising herself as an old peddler woman, she journeyed across the mountains to the dwarf's cottage. Lovely laces for sale, she called. Snow White peeked out. "Oh, how pretty!" "Let me tie them for you, dear," the disguised queen said sweetly. The moment she tightened the laces, she pulled them so suddenly and tightly that Snow White collapsed breathless and pale. When the dwarfs returned, they revived her, loosening the laces until she breathed again. "That was your stepmother," they cried. "You must not open the door again." Snow White nodded fearfully, but the queen's rage only grew. "I will not be thwarted." She crafted a poisonous comb and disguised herself once more. Pretty combs for lovely hair she called Snow White resisted. "I cannot open the door. Just look from the window," said the queen. Snow White admired the comb. When the old woman offered to place it in her hair, Snow White agreed. The moment the comb touched her head, she fell unconscious. When the dwarfs returned, they found the comb and removed it just in time. Back in the castle, the mirror revealed Snow White still lived. The queen prepared her deadliest trap, a beautiful red and white apple poisoned only on one side. Disguised as a humble farmer woman, she knocked on the dwarf's door one last time. "I cannot let anyone in." Snow White said, "That's all right." The queen replied gently, "I will cut the apple. You eat the red side, I will eat the white." Seeing her harmless act, Snow White took a bite. Instantly she dropped to the ground. When the dwarfs returned and saw her lifeless, they wept. For 3 days they cried, unable to bury someone so beautiful. Instead, they placed her in a glass coffin upon the mountain, always guarded by one dwarf. One day, a young prince riding through the forest saw the coffin. Snow White shimmered like she was only sleeping. He read the golden letters. "Snow White, daughter of a king." Moved deeply, he asked, "Please let me take her with me. I will honor her forever." At first, the dwarfs refused, but his sincerity touched their hearts, and they finally agreed. As the prince's servants lifted the coffin, they stumbled on a tree root. The jolt caused the piece of poisoned apple to dislodge from her throat. Snow White gasped, opening her eyes. "Where am I? You're safe," said the prince, his voice trembling with joy. "Come with me, will you be my queen?" Snow White smiled gently and nodded. A magnificent wedding was held. All the kingdoms were invited, including the wicked queen, who believed Snow White dead before leaving for the feast. She asked her mirror, "Mirror, mirror on the wall, who is the fairest one of all?" The mirror answered, "You are fair, O queen, but the new queen is far fairer than you." The queen's heart froze in terror. She went to the wedding to see this rival. When she arrived and recognized Snow White alive, her legs trembled. But a punishment had been prepared. 2 iron shoes had been heated until they glowed red, burning like the sun. The queen was forced to wear them and dance until she fell unable to rise again. Thus ended her cruelty. Snow White and the prince ruled their kingdom with kindness and joy. She never forgot the 7 dwarfs who saved her again and again, and whenever they visited the castle they were welcomed as honored guests, the true friends who protected her when she had no one else. And so Snow White lived happily ever after in a kingdom filled with warmth, love, and peace.